And today, in one of the exercises, it's not that this exercise is doing this, but that's what we're working towards slowly, is to open up an area which is in all of us, and which has kind of a name, and this is called cosmic awareness. This is the name which is given to it. But it's nice kind of, you know, to look a little bit more to the depth to it. What is cosmic awareness? And when you talk about cosmic awareness, we're not so much talking about awareness. This is the strange thing in the name. It's an old name, and a lot of schools are not making a differentiation, a clear differentiation between awareness and consciousness. What would be a better name is cosmic consciousness. And consciousness, this beautiful gift, our mind is part of that. And the use of our mind is part of that. It's working in polarity. It's important to understand that we cannot kind of think without polarity. We cannot analyze without polarity. It's good and bad. Thinking is working black and white. And thinking, our thinking is only worthwhile, to say it like this, if it's working, you know, in an order, otherwise it's chaos. We order in our thinking facts. So it's moving in time, through time. What happened first, what happened last. There is an ordering. And this ordering, when you look to it, kind of moves through time, moves through polarity. Many schools are seeing our mind and our thinking as the highest, most spiritual part of ourselves. But when you look at our thoughts and the energy of our thoughts, it's absolutely true that it's got the highest vibration. The speed of thought is much faster as the speed of emotion or instinct. When you see a thought as an energy and a movement of a thought, then it's not only kind of able to travel by the speed of light, but it can even travel faster as the speed of light and the thoughts. And move backwards into time. We can make in our thoughts time loops. If you think about somebody in New Zealand, and when you make long distance calls, this makes it very clearly, then in the same moment it's possible that the person thinks of you. It's like the speed of light. It's momentous. And then you call the person, I just thought of you. So he was touched by the reaching out through thoughts, which goes very quickly. And then it takes some time when you're speaking together before you have a feeling connection. Feelings are moving slower. And that's partly because we need to adjust, but if you're very adjusted to a person, because you get a feeling connection, if you're very aware of it, you see it takes some time. It takes some time before this comes together. It's moving a little bit slower. And you recognize what I'm talking about? So it's moving very, very fast. And I think that's why schools say, okay, this is the most spiritual part of us, because it's moving so fast. But you can look at it at a total different way as well, that our mind is always kind of moving in polarity. So at the same time that it's moving very fast, it's also very physical. It's so much connected with the physical universe in the way it functions. So it's both. Cosmic awareness in itself has to do with opening the mind. And that means that we kind of move into another way of thinking. So often what we see, and we talked about this yesterday already a little bit, is that a lot of our thoughts are moving in a way that we try to grasp reality, try to grasp the truth, or try to create reality. This is how it is. And we are not so conscious that we are very creative in this. Yesterday we talked about that we basically are authors of our own life. We create our own truth and we create our own reality. And most of the times when we create our truth and our own reality, we are identified with this. This is the truth, this is the reality, this is how it is. Everybody loves ice cream. Lida is Yofi. So we have this kind of absolute truth we believe in. When we kind of go through an experience, what we do in our minds is that we analyze the experience, we make a story around it, and then the experience is under control. We understand it. And how we understand it, that becomes the reality, the truth. And often, when we tell this experience to other people, if you really look how you tell it, is that you add some facts. You change your own position a little bit in it, you become more heroic. You fantasize a little bit. We make the facts a little bit more beautiful and obvious to make it more clear, and then we come with a story. The story of our experience.
Like, can you give an example?
So an example is, for instance, you're sitting in the train. And in the train, something is happening. So somebody makes a remark, and what's happening in the train is somebody is making a remark, and somebody else is reacting to it, and there is a kind of confrontation going on. It doesn't matter what, it doesn't have to be big. So you look at it, you're witnessing it, you're not really part of it, but it's funny. So then on the way home you think about it and you think, okay, I'm going to tell this to my mother because it's really funny what happened. It's remarkable. And then when you come home, the story is changed already a little bit. It's changed with feelings. I could feel that this person was not really this and this person was like that. We start to fill in, we make a picture of it. And by the time you're home, you tell your mother the story, you're the hero who made the funny remark. This is often what we do, you know, we steal from each other. So, and the person who was criticized or the funny remark was on his behalf became much worse as he really was. You understand, we enlarge. You recognize what I'm talking about? If somebody tells a story which is absolutely dry how it is,
It's boring.
It's kind of boring. It's boring because your feeling of humor is unique. So with it, if you want to tell the story, you have also kind of make it more clear that this is humorous. So we adjust the story to our own situation. We enlarge it a little bit so that people can replace themselves in how we witnessed it. You recognize this also when you write a book. So that means if you go up the mountain and you get a message and you come down, it must have a big effect because it had a big effect on you. You understand? This is how things are written. So to kind of, we surround important things with a lot of facts and a big turmoil, even if the big turmoil was not really there, to kind of lift it up as a big happening. You understand? And there's always some reactions, but we enlarge the reactions because it's important. We take certain facts which are important, and these facts we enlarge. We bring them forward. So when Moses came from the mountain, what's not mentioned is that half of the people were just sleeping and not even aware that he came down. They waited so long, and some of them were shitting and peeing. And there were a few who saw him, and it took a long time before everybody was aware that he was back. You understand? But to write it like this would be absolutely boring. Can you recognize? So this is how we tell stories, how we make the truth. We kind of, you know, we highlight things by bringing forward reactions from the surroundings. Basically the story is when he came down the first time, that everybody was partying and not even kind of seeing him. They had a golden calf. So this is quite devastating for the ego of the guy. This sounds horrible when you talk about this, and I really don't want to be disrespectful, but it's kind of, it's clear that how things are written is a support in the importance of the message which is brought. And to polarize, to make totally clear this is the real message and the other message is something we have to leave behind. This is a polarization, black and white, good and bad.
No. What?
This is how the mind is working.
But why is it a polarization?
If Moses would have come down the mountain and the people would all be there waiting for him and would receive the message like this, what would have been missing is to let go of superstition, to let go of kind of taking a symbol, to put in the place of God. So this is an important part of the message as well. The important part of the message. So you have to polarize, you have to write down this as well. So this is what we're leaving behind. We go straight with the straight connection we have with God. You understand? That's in stories. So I give this as an example because this is how our mind is working. It polarizes, and through polarization we bring forward a bigger truth. Good and bad. And basically what was going on is a power struggle between priests, if you look into it. Otherwise it never would have happened. Between leaders. That doesn't matter so much, but to go back to the main train of thought is that the mind is creating reality. And that's totally okay in the whole process of understanding. What we talked about yesterday, that sometimes the mind is dictating reality based on fear. Often based on fear of rejection or fear of not belonging. If you go to a funeral, you have to be sad. You have to feel sadness. You have to feel sorry.
People are happy in funerals.
Yes.
Because they're alive.
Exactly. This is there as well. And sometimes when a person is dying, who is close to you, aside of that you maybe will miss the person, but the first thing which can come forward is a feeling of liberation. And especially when a person has a very long history of being sick. And that's very heavy on the ones who are staying behind to take care of the person, and then the person is passing over, and the first instance what we sometimes feel is just a liberation. The grief comes later. Even if the relationship is very close and very good, it can also be the opposite. But it's both. And we dictate with our mind what is allowed to be there and what's not allowed to be there. As an example, not always, but this is happening. I don't want to generalize. So we sometimes dictate with our mind what should be there, also in our language towards each other. Say, Yair is really upset and angry about something which happens. And I say to Yair, listen Yair, what are you so upset about? And it's because of this and this and this and this. And I said, you know, there's no reason to be upset about that. Why would you be upset about that? So I immediately interfere with his feeling, his emotion. So if I've got authority, and I've got a lot of authority, then your ear thinks, okay, you know, I'm not allowed to be upset about this. This is strange about me. This is crazy. So it's better to repress this, not to show that I'm upset about this. So in this, the mind comes to a position where it kind of is dictating also our feelings, emotions, how it should be, how we are allowed to express it. It gives form. And I'm not saying that this is bad. This is good and bad. It's also part of civilization. It's also part that when there is anger, that we can find forms to express this anger in a way which is as little destructive as possible. But the mind can do also the opposite. It can really kind of think about revenge when we are angry in a way which is as destructive as possible. So in this the mind is neutral. You recognize what I'm talking about? The more we are fearful, and the basis of a lot of fears which have an influence on the mind is social fears. So the more we are fearful, the more we need a very strong mental structure about what is okay and what's not okay.
Because that's the solid ground.
We hold on to the solid ground. This is safe. But then something horrible is happening there. That is that, you know, if we move to safe ground and we try to prevent our fears have the tendency to get stronger and to get out of control. I'll give an example. So say you're married, you're together, and you have a fear that your wife will like another person more as you. So you have a fear to lose your wife. And of course you can analyze it and say, okay, this is maybe built on lack of self-confidence, there's no trust in the love of the wife, there's no trust in your own love, there is jealousy. Jealousy is playing out. And we don't want to confront the jealousy. We don't want to move through the jealousy, go into the fear and move beyond possessiveness. So if you move with jealousy, what comes forward is possessiveness. You have to be sure that she stays with you. So how can you be sure that she will stay with you? You have to make her dependent. You have to give her the illusion that she's not able to live without you. So the first thing what you do is to keep your hand on the wallet. The second thing is limit freedom. But then there is this horrible thing that still she needs to go shopping, and maybe if she goes into a shop she will meet somebody. So if you follow this line, what you see is a limitation of the freedom of the other person more and more and more. In the end, you know, you go to your work after you closed your wife in the cupboard, and when you come back you free her again. This is extreme, but this is when you go with fear. What you see is that the freedom is limited more and more and more. The space is limited more and more and more. This is basically with every fear. Fear, if we don't confront it, if we're not able kind of, you know, to move with it, to move beyond it, to allow the fear and to develop the self-confidence that you're able to contain your fears, it starts to get a bigger and bigger and bigger grip on your life and a bigger and bigger grip on your mind. Your thinking becomes more and more rigid. If we have a panic attack, what you see is that the whole body cramps. The muscles cramp on fear. The mind cramps on fear as well. The mind gets more and more rigid. We're more and more holding on to the things which are absolutely truth. We go into a tunnel vision. And this is often the difficulty when we have a fear or we are worried about something, we can not see anything around it anymore. The fear becomes enlarged. It takes the whole universe. You recognize what I'm talking about? It's a tunnel vision. So fear cramps. And the best way to deal with fear, if you're fearful, again works through the mind, through the consciousness. If you consciously can relax the body, it's much more easy to contain the fear. If you consciously can breathe deeply through, it's much more easy to contain the fear. The more we stay in connection with the whole physical body, the more easy it is to contain the fear. The more we're able to relax the body, the more easy it is to contain the fear. And the more free the mind stays. So basically what we need to do is exactly the opposite of what fear is causing, this cramp. Just relax, it's just a fear. That helps. So fear has an influence on our mind, and fear has an influence on our mind that our mind gets more rigid. We need really a strong mental kind of structure to hold on to. An absolute truth. This is how it is. This is the only truth. This is not only in persons, but you see this also in countries. Europe just has been moving through an economic crisis. And that's fearful. It makes it unsafe for people. And what you see during such an economic crisis is also that there is less freedom. The minds of people get kind of more and more rigid. There is more polarity. It's at once the Poles, the people from Poland who are taking all the jobs. You know, we find causes and get rigid. The stranger has to go outside. This is the truth. You understand? When there's a lot of wealth, there's a relaxation and everybody is welcome. You see, this is one form of rigidity, where it gets rigid. The whole thinking gets more rigid. There is one way to get through it, and everybody who's different kind of, falls out. Social fears are growing.
That's what helped Hitler to control people.
Exactly. There was a big humiliation of Germany together with, you know, a collapse. And that was very fruitful soil to start the Third Reich on. Oei, oei, oei. So, when we look into this, what is cosmic consciousness or cosmic awareness? It's basically a movement beyond this being caught in the mind in absolutes. It's a movement beyond that there is only one truth, one reality. This is your reality, your truth. It's an opening of the mind in a way that we become aware that there is a lot of different truths. That you can see one happening from a lot of different sides. We become aware that different perspectives are possible. There is not only one perspective. That we even can perceive the same thing in different ways. That we're able to replace ourselves into the reality of another person. This is quite a boost of the mind. That means that there is the space in the mind in which you can contain the reality of another person, that you can understand why the other person is relating to the happening like this and that and that and that and that. Now what I'm saying is quite precise. What I try to say is that you really can understand how another person is coming to his perception of a happening. That opens up immensely. That means also you need to get this information, and to get this information you need to listen to other persons. You need to observe, to witness other people. You need to see another person not as a threat of your reality or your truth, but with an openness and a curiosity. What is moving this person, this alive person? It's a movement beyond being judgmental, which judgmental is something else as to make judgments, because we need to make judgments. We need to make choices, and every choice is a judgment. You understand? So that's not a problem, but what's problem is if there is a judgment which is there forever, and then we become judgmental. We generalize the judgment. There's one Syrian who stole from you, and now all the Syrians are thieves. And because this one Syrian stole from you, he is a thief forever. You understand? We become judgmental. And that's a very simple example, but I don't want to go to being judgmental too deeply right now, but again, this is based on fear. it's unsafe, so we put a kind of a judgment which makes it more safe for us. This is in a lot of things. He got cancer because he's smoking already for 20 years. That's a judgment. So we don't have to be fearful to get cancer because we don't smoke. It makes it more safe. If you can find a reason, a judgment around a reason, it makes it more safe. And then we become judgmental. The next step is to say, yeah, you got cancer because you smoked. It's your own mistake. And then judgmental becomes heartless. And this is often how we think towards ourselves as well. This has happened to me because I did something wrong. So please, Master, tell me what I did wrong, so that I'm suffering right now. This is very, very far away from life. You understand? It's like it's trying to control life. If you do everything right, no harm will come to you. But we don't even know how to do everything right. And maybe part of life is to deal with harm, to move to the experience of suffering. So when we talk about cosmic awareness, it's an incredibly opening, not only of the mind, but it's an opening in which the strong either or which is in the mind is opening up to an end. And this is a movement we make at the same time from the head to the heart. This is an incredible movement because in the head, the I is absolute. And that means that we have to let go of this absolute I. This absolute persona. It's just a persona. It's not the most important. It's just a form. So basically in this movement we disentangling from our minds. And we let go of a lot of dictating of our experience in how it should be into kind of allowing the experience to be whatever it is. And instead of the mind dictating our daily life experience, the mind starts to follow the daily life experience. So that means that we're not dictating how it should be, but we're more following how it is. You see the difference in open-mindedness when you follow how it is for you at that moment, instead of telling what you should feel. It's a total different function of the mind. So that's kind of a revolution going on. So to say it in a different way, as my talk brought forward, is saying, okay, you know, we are judgmental. This is not what she says, but I take it up like that. And We are judgmental on how things should be. So it's either wrong or right. And in this, by every judgment, we dictate how we should think about it, what we should feel. We dictate what we should experience. So we create our experience through the mind. So to move into cosmic awareness, basically what's happening is that the mind starts to follow the experience. It becomes end-end. So we got this free mind to analyze the experience. We're not dictating that much anymore. We're not filling in anymore how it should be. We're much more looking at how it is for us at that moment. And that opens us up also to see how it is for another person at that moment. That also opens us up to decipher that, you know, another person could have an absolutely different experience in the same happening. So you don't say, this is fun, but you say, this was really fun for me. And I understand that it was not that much fun for you. There is an openness, there's a difference. And a curiosity. So how come it was less fun for you? It's also exciting to find out that another person has another experience. You understand? It's incredibly enriching. So many possibilities, so many colors to the same event. So cosmic awareness comes together with incarnating more deeply. And what do I mean by incarnating more deeply? To move more deeply into the physical.
The fear is doing this, or
the fear is doing the opposite. When we move away from fear, basically what we do is we draw our pipes up and we move up to the head to control the fear. So when we don't allow fear, we fight it and we have to kind of control that the fear will not come back. If we're more able to allow the fear, we can kind of move more deeply inside our bodies. And we start to connect with our pelvic. So yesterday we did this exercise with the solar plexus, which is really helpful to balance and to release the solar plexus. And this exercise is really helpful kind of to move more deeply down into our physical. And then when the liver stream is blocked, basically, then this becomes the basis we stand on. That means that the basis is basically the solar plexus. And when the solar plexus is out of balance, the basis we stand on is fear. If the liver stream and the solar plexus are relaxing more, we kind of can incarnate more deeply and the basis becomes the pelvic. So the more we incarnate into the physical, the more the mind opens and the more the mind is able to move beyond polarity. It becomes end-end. Where our center was first the head, our thinking, the center moves down to the heart. The basis, which was the solar plexus, moves down to the pelvic. So, when the center is more the heart, the mind is following the experience. This is what we basically want from every scientist. He does an experience, and by doing the experience you try to understand what's happening, analyze it, and through this you come to understanding. It's not that you want a scientist to dictate an experience or an experiment. You understand? By dictating, you just prove the same over and over and over again. So we can dictate our own reality in a way that we kind of totally, in a tunnel vision, are focused on rejection. And have a deep belief that you are here to get rejected. So in everything what another person will do, he will see rejection. If another person is lifting a finger, he's lifting the finger to criticize you. You get rejected. When there is some criticism, it's the end of the world. He's anti-you. There's not the inner quiet and calmness to ask, okay, I understand your criticism, what do you really mean by that? What is this based on? How do you come to this experience of criticizing? Let me explain where I'm coming from. A dialogue is not possible. It's a discussion. It's either or. Or you are right or I am right. It's helpless. You recognize what I'm talking about? It's not end-end. So the movement down where the heart becomes more the center is the end-end. The mind starts to open up into more cosmic awareness, so it is connected with the heart as well. Cosmic consciousness. And our basis is becoming the pelvic. The pelvic is also the engine of our vitality. It's basically the engine. If you do horseback riding, a way to control the horse is to use the strength which is coming from the pelvic of the horse, from the ass of the horse. So when you collect a horse, you bring kind of basically the strength in the circulation from the ass. And then the horse can jump very high. It's the same with us. Most vitality moves through the ass, upward. So if this is blocked, there's also a lack of vitality. If we are more open, vitality can move through much stronger. And this vitality, which can move much stronger, is used to expand the heart and is used to expand the mind, to open up the mind.
the energy from the pelvic area is used to open up the mind?
Yeah. It's transformed and used to open up the mind. There is another way of talking about it. It's also connected with opening up the Kundalini energy, the basic vitality, or part of the Kundalini energy. So the pelvic is more opened and it kind of gets in a better balance, because often there is an imbalance in the pelvic. Then what is created is a lot of space. Basically our thoughts are washed through the pelvic, and what's happening is when this is open is that also in the mind there's a lot of space, there is silence. And this space is based on the pelvic, on the whole realm of emptiness. Emptiness from which forms arise, they come and go. So the whole perception through emptiness is opened up as well. And this perception through emptiness is a base through which our consciousness can work in freedom. Our awareness can work in freedom, can open up in freedom. We can use these different areas of perception in freedom. We are not entangled in the object of what we perceive anymore, but we are able to move back in a way that we become aware, conscious, that we perceive. It's not that we are the object anymore. We are not our thoughts anymore. We are not our feelings anymore. We are not the experience anymore. An experience is an experience, and it's not that the experience is telling something about us, except that we are able to experience it in this way. I know it's a lot of information, but it's kind of important because this helps us to move beyond craziness. There is no need to become crazy anymore. Craziness is based on the identification with the experience, and what you experience, this is you. If you analyze it. It's not you who are able to experience this, but what you experience is you. That's telling something about you. This is where we get incredibly out of balance. We get crazy. Or we identify with an experience we want to have, and we reach too far out for this experience, already dictated how it should be. Try to control experience to the extreme is driving us mad. So on the path of inner growth, in moving inwards, the most important rule is to accept whatever experience is coming forward in the moment, right now. This is what there is. This is very grounding. This is totally different as creating enlightenment. Enlightenment is not important, it's about what is there right now. Or creating holiness, or creating to be a better person. A better person doesn't exist. It's a different person. You understand? There's a polarity. It's an invention, it's an illusion. I am a better person. You are what you are. And you can behave in a better way. You can be more considerate and learn to be more considerate. You can learn maybe to listen more to the depth of yourself and to the truth of yourself. Be more loyal to how you perceive. But you are the person who you are. And you're not. It's just a form which is taken every moment. And this form is changeable. It's not the same. And we know this, because how we take form in our work is different as how we take form in our private life. How we take form with a lover is different as how we take form with a friend. How we take form with our parents is different as how we take form when we're on a holiday. It's all different forms we take. Different aspects are coming forward. And is the amount of aspects we have inside ourselves limited? If it's limited, then we are the one who are limiting it. You understand? And especially when you look at, how do you call that, people who play in movies?
Actors.
Actors. They can take so many different forms. They become the form. All these forms are inside ourselves. They're always to experience, all different ways to express. So this gift of cosmic awareness gives us the opportunity to replace ourselves in a different situation, and every child is doing this, in a different person, and to see what reactions are coming forward there. It helps us to investigate all the different possibilities and choose